Real quick before we get into the video, if you want to see the reaction live with me, follow me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming the games there from now on. I'm going to stream the highlights live there. So join me on Twitch. And then later on, I'm going to cut them up and upload it to the YouTube channel. So again, if you want to watch me react to it live and react to it with me, follow me on Twitch. The quality on these two videos might be a little crazy, but it's going to be a lot better from here on out. So follow me on Twitch. I'll catch y'all over there. What's good? Welcome back to another reaction. So today we got the most fragile players in the NBA. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, share, hit the subscribe button. The goal is 20K by the end of the football season. So once the football season's over, I want us to hit 20K. Hit 20K right as we go into basketball season. That would be perfect, man. So look, we're going to be reacting to the most fragile players in the NBA. Now, we already know, as you can see by the thumbnail, the two players that deserve to be on there. Kawhi and AD. We already know they're gonna be, if they're not 1 and 2, they are gonna be 1 and 2. Shoot, what am I talking about? I ain't never seen people get hurt so much in my life. That's what I'm saying. I was surprised they have a body left to play in the NBA the way they be getting hurt.
The list of NBA greats that have lost their careers to injuries is endless. It's an unfortunate part of the game for players and fans that have to see their favorites go down and having to miss games because of it. And sadly, that's something that just keeps happening to these 10 players, who would be considered some of the most fragile players in NBA history, and for some reason they just can't stay injury-free for more than a season. And Jonathan Isaac really comes to mind. As a young 23-year-old 6'10" power forward, the man was thought to be the next Giannis Antetokounmpo. In 2020, he was being considered a real contender for the Defensive Player of the Year award, even though he was on the Orlando Magic, who weren't winning games.
That's crazy.
The future was extremely bright for Jonathan.
I did not know that.
But now he's played 3 games in the past
3
years.
But he hurt.
On January 1st, 2020, he suffered a left knee injury that was supposed to take him out for 8 to 10 weeks. Well, right when it was time for him to make a comeback, the NBA shut down.
NBA is suspending the season.
That was so
instead,
crazy
he
when
returned
that
in the
happened.
bubble and played 2 entire games before blowing out that same knee and tearing his ACL. And that was August 2nd of 2020. The average recovery time for a torn ACL is about 9 months. Well, he's a year and a half past that, so he definitely should have been back by now. And it's just getting weird that he's not, and that nothing's been heard from him or the Orlando Magic as to why he's not back on an NBA floor. The only update we have had is, you guessed it, another injury. But even that was 9 months ago. Jonathan Isaac's NBA career looked really promising at first, but all I know is that if he doesn't make a return at some point during this year, I think I'll be convinced that his career is over. But first, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor NordPass,
it's awful,
which is a great tool that will store all.
You got to think that's terrible that your career could literally be over after 4 years. But he's been hurt. And he's been gone for 3 years. He played 3 games in 3 years. It's crazy. Cause Joel Embiid, he had injury history early like that. Steph had, now it wasn't no 3 games in 3 years, but they had an injury history themselves. The organization didn't abandon them. Now they're nasty. Now I'm not saying that Jonathan Isaac gonna be anything like those two. I'm just saying it's crazy how fast they'll call your career over after a couple injuries.
Seasons, he played in 202 players' career, almost ended due to his injuries.
This one hurt.
In his first 3 seasons, he played in 240 out of the 246 total games and became an MVP of the NBA at only 22 years old.
MVP Rose, this one hurt.
MVP in NBA history.
But even quicker than he rose up, he came crashing down. Because the next year he would miss 27 games in the regular season and suffer the first major injury of his career in the playoffs.
Oh, this film would have been so nasty if he would. It hurt. This would hurt.
Something that would change his.
Hey, keep it a buck. If you're especially when he was going crazy, if you were an NBA fan, not even a Derrick Rose fan or a Bulls fan, if you were an NBA fan, you know when he got hurt like this and then he got hurt again, it low-key hurt you. You're like,
career forever,
you just felt
because from
sick.
then on out,
Like,
it seemed like every
how
single
cold
year
this
he would
man
be taken
could have
down
been.
with another major injury. Just to put it into perspective, in his first 3 years, he played in 97.5% of the games he was eligible for. And in the past 10, he's played in 49% of them, with all of them having to do with his knees and ankles. Ever since that first big injury, the rest of his body has just broken down and never been able to get back to what it
Yeah, it
once was.
sucks,
I mean,
man.
even in recent
Yeah,
years, it
that
seemed
one
like he had
hurt, ain't
adjusted
gonna
his
lie.
style of play, toned down the
That one
dunk,
hurt.
and
D-Rose
driving to
so
the hoop in order
nasty.
to stay
That
healthy,
boy was
but
so
that hasn't
nasty
helped
with
at
it.
all. And even last year, he just signed a $43 million deal for the Knicks and was supposed to be a big piece for them, but only played 26 games due to an ankle injury and a skin infection. And it's been a real shame to see. The same could also be said for Joel Embiid, who's definitely a top-tier contender for the most fragile player in the NBA. No matter how good the 76ers are, I'll never have them as championship contenders or favorites, because you can pretty much always count on Embiid to get injured at some point during the year. But that's right now. Let's take things back a little bit, because this is the guy that had to miss his
Yeah, he
first
started
two
out
entire
early.
seasons due to an injury.
So with Embiid, that man started out early. That man will hurt. That man will hurt. That's why I trust the process was even a thing. Like, they would tank, yes, but a lot of the time they weren't tanking to tank. They were tanking because he was hurt.
Foot. And since then has never
They were
even played
tanking. They had
60
no
games in a
like.
year.
They had no
As a
choice.
matter of fact, he's only played 52% of all games he's been eligible for since being drafted due to getting hurt. He was even looking like a favorite to win MVP in 2021, but injuries took him out for a good part of the year and he fell out of those talks quick. And with Embiid, it's not like he has bad knees or bad ankles like
That
some
was a
other players that
nasty
have
pass.
career-ending nagging injuries. No, Embiid will have an injured foot one game, then an injured right shoulder the next. I mean, look at this past
Anthony
postseason.
Davis not
It
number
was
one, I
supposed
don't
to be
know
a big
who
one
is.
for Philly,
Outside
but
of
Joel
Kawhi.
had to fight off a
It's
mild
between them
concussion
two.
and ended up needing surgery on his right thumb and left index finger. Like, I've never heard of a player hurting two separate fingers in a single playoffs.
Man,
So
hurt
that was
both
just in
his
a span of
fingers,
2 months.
but
But
getting
this is
grabbed
pretty
net.
much how a lot of his career has gone. Thankfully, he hasn't had any major injuries, but instead a ton of smaller ones that have always come one after another. Blake Griffin, on the other hand, well, his career had early signs of what was to come for him, because as a rookie, he injured his knee, putting him out for the entire year. After that, he stayed healthy for a really good stretch and rarely ever missed a game for the next 5 years. But ever since 2015, he's only really had a single game where he stayed injury-free. Besides that, it's always been something, whether it was a quad injury in the playoffs, a minor surgery on that same knee, missing the entire playoffs.
Them
for a
knees,
hurt
man.
toe,
Once
or
you hurt your
countless
knees,
more
that's like,
knee injuries.
ugh,
It was
'cause my
always
knee still
something
hurt
on the
today.
Clippers and Pistons.
To this
Since
day.
2019
That's
when
what I
everything
need. I
took
need
a
that
turn
sound
for the
effect.
worse.
To
He
this
had to have
day.
back-to-back surgeries on that same left knee from his rookie season, taking him out for the entire playoffs
Man,
and
Blake-
regular season.
Blake,
which was
his
so bad
first
for him,
year
it
with the
caused
Pistons,
to
that
buy
man
his
was
contract and pretty much
disgusting.
instantly turned him to a bench player.
From that
Kristaps
point on, that
Porzingis
man
is
wasn't
another
good.
guy that seems like he can never just stay healthy, and that's always going to be an
He was
issue with a
supposed- yeah,
player
he was
his
supposed to
size.
be-
Now he came into the league and his
I ain't gonna lie, people talk about Vic Wembanyama. This man Kristaps was supposed to be something like Vic
first 2.5
Wembanyama.
years went great.
Especially
He
when
rarely
he
missed
came-
any games
especially
and
when he
slowly
first
got
got
better
into the league.
every year. But it was that third season that he got chosen to become an all-star, but also tore his ACL, which took him out for an entire season and a half. And ever since then, it seems like he's been hurt every single year. In 2019, he tore his meniscus in the playoff series against the Clippers, pretty much
Dang.
costing the Mavs that one. He sat out nearly half the season the next year just to be sure he didn't get
I didn't even know he tore
But
his
only played
meniscus.
50
I know he
games
got
this
hurt.
past year.
I didn't
As
know
of
what
right
he
now in the
hurt.
2023 season, he's managed to stay injury-free, but
You know what's awful about this too? Like, whenever you look at some of these people, they get hurt so much you don't even like ask what's wrong anymore. Like before, like say, boy, you gotta knock on wood. Say like Ja or Steph got hurt. You can ask what. Steph was injury prone early to with his ankles, but you can be like, what he hurt. If Kristaps or Anthony Davis, if you see a headline talk about they got hurt, you're gonna say again. Like, you're not even gonna ask what did he hurt. You're not gonna look and see what it was that he hurt. You're just gonna be like, oh man, I knew he was gonna get hurt. Got hurt again. You're not even
We'll
gonna see what it
On
was
the other
or
hand, Chris
how
Paul is
serious
about
it was.
an average-sized dude, but he's had a ton of nagging injuries throughout his career. Every season, he has a few, if not more, injuries that take him out for a stretch of games. It's safe to say that he's way more injury-prone than your average star point guard, but it's also not even that. It's the fact
That
that
man
he's gotten
Chris Paul
hurt way too
cold.
many times when it's mattered most.
That man get hurt in the
2015 was
playoffs.
the second round and the Clippers were looking great, but then Chris suffers a hamstring injury and is out for the playoffs while the Clippers were eliminated in Game 7. In 2016, he broke his hand as soon as the playoffs started, which obviously gave LA an easy exit. In 2018, the Rockets had the KD Golden State Warriors on the ropes until Chris had a hamstring injury that put him out for the last 2 games, and caused the Rockets to lose in a Game 7 as well. And even on the Suns in 2021, he went through the whole playoffs with an injured wrist. Then this past year, CP3 injured his shoulder so bad he couldn't even shoot the ball. So he's a pretty fragile player, especially when the playoffs come around. Now, Kevin Love's also always been pretty injury prone, but usually due to smaller nagging injuries that wouldn't always take him out for extended periods of time.
Okay,
he did have a hand injury early on that kept him out for mostly all of the 2012 season. But besides that, it was things like concussions, a broken toe, or a broken finger.
It's funny how he just threw that out there. Even though that didn't so it's not like one of them injuries that keep you out for like a long time. It's just the way he led with it. Like, oh, just nothing but concussions.
Which have all caused him to play in 60 games or under in 8 out of his 14 seasons. But more specifically, it's been his
every time I hear concussion, I think of Tua.
That his injuries have really become an issue. Bad. In 2018, he only played 22 games due to an injured foot, and in 2020, only 25 games due to an injured calf. He got a concussion in the 2015 NBA Finals and missed games, then couldn't play like himself when he came back because of it. But the Cavs still won that year, so luckily his injuries didn't get too much in the way. Yusuf Nurkic is a guy that probably wouldn't get mentioned a ton by your average NBA fan, but look at the amount of games he played.
The way he broke his leg or whatever
in his entire career, he's only really had 2 good years.
I can't even watch it. I can't watch people get hurt.
This is the guy the Blazers just gave $70 million to this year, which is shocking considering how many games he's missed for them. Some players' bodies just aren't meant to last in the league, because I mean, even when he had a much more limited role coming off the bench, he was still getting injured just as much as he does as a full-time starter. So it wasn't from any major wear and tear on his body. It was obviously just because some players' bodies are more fragile than others. Ben Simmons is another guy that definitely looks like he's shaping up to be one of the league's most fragile players. He missed his official rookie season due to an injured foot that required surgery, and that's fine, it happens. But fast forward to him holding out all season due to mental health issues. And if he had outside mental health issues, sure, that's fine. But for all the reports that come out of his feelings getting hurt by things players said, and him losing confidence over certain spots in games, while also just not at all having the confidence to shoot the ball, shows that he doesn't.
No, no, I can't. Yes and no. Yes, it's hard to. The what's it called? That's a tricky one. Because you'd be like, no, that's not, I wouldn't consider that fragile, but at the same time, you kind of have to consider it fragile.
And have the right mental toughness to excel.
It's that little trick, it's like a little gray area with it.
And it now seeming like he's missing every other game due to an injury coming up, and it's all just becoming too much. It seems like every time I go to watch a Nets game, he's sitting out for something. So if he continues on the trend he's been on the past 2 seasons, he'll definitely be one of the most fragile in the entire league. But he definitely won't take that spot because that will probably always go to Anthony.
One thing I will say, because if Kawhi's not on here, I'll lose my mind. I really will lose it. Kawhi has to be on this list. I know there's like a couple seconds left. Kawhi has to make this list. I understand Anthony Davis. If Kawhi's not on this, I hold up. I gotta look ahead. They don't have Kawhi on here. Man, Kawhi, I think Kawhi almost like low-key ruined like the league. Ain't gonna lie. Cause like now, I can't say he ruined the league, but like most people now, I think it might just be like human nature. So like once you do something one time, like say you never missed a game and then you start missing games, to me it's like easier to miss games, if that makes sense. So like before, when you were playing through certain injuries, once you get like a big one and you're sitting out, once you get them small injuries again, you're more likely to sit out because the big injury, whether it be like you're afraid, like you're just being more cautious than you used to with the big injury or whatever, or what you like, whatever it is. Once you sit out like the one, like for a significant period of time, like one time, it seems like from that point on, you keep sitting out more and more, even with the little stuff. Like he just said Ben. So Ben sat out a whole year with mental illness. Now you see him like all these nagging injuries or whatever. He's sitting out, his back this day, his foot this game. Like
Davis, as long as
it's almost easier to sit out.
When you think of injuries today and people with lost potential because of it, he's probably the #1 guy that you think of, and they followed him his entire career. Throughout his short 11 years since being drafted, he's had 52 different injuries that have cost him to miss games. And he's another guy that's played in every single season. He's never had any major injury that caused him to miss an extended period of time. But it seems as if every single game he's in, we see one of these. and then he'll
You
either
have
get
to.
up or not. But if you're watching him play, there's a good chance he gets hurt doing something and at least takes a while to get up. It
It's
wasn't a
funny
super
'cause
big
he
deal
does
while
the
he was on
same
the
thing.
Pelicans because, well,
That man always
Pelicans,
that man always
missed a
face
few
first
games
from the
here and there,
ground. That's
didn't
not
really
funny
things
because he getting
out for
hurt.
their season.
But it
on the
kinda
Lakers,
is.
well, it was no
And he get
surprise
hurt
that
the
the
same
one
way.
season that he was actually able to stay healthy for, his team won a championship. And I don't think that's a coincidence. If you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm out.
Fake injury on birthday. Got lotion in the eyes. No, I wish they had one for fighting this man. Which it happens. This man DC almost put out of a fight because he sneezed and threw his back out. I thought that was wild. No, Steve Nash got to be one of them. That man missed the whole season because that man pretty much retired because he sneezed and threw his back out. But that's it for the video. Make sure you like. No, he threw his back out carrying luggage. That's what it was. The boy carrying his bags and threw his back out. That's it for the video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll catch all y'all on the next one. Until then, I'm out. Peace.